It's 3 a.m. and you're staring at the ceiling. Your phone is face down, your eyes are closed, your brain will not stop talking. You assume this is a modern problem, a side effect of screens and stress, and a world that never turns off. But the real answer is far stranger. Your ancestors lay awake too, not because of blue light, because of something built into them on purpose. For most of human history, sleep was not one long, unbroken block. It came in two pieces. A first sleep, beginning a few hours after dusk. Then, in the dead of night, a period of quiet wakefulness. Then, a second sleep, carrying through until dawn. The historian Roger Ekirch spent over a decade combing through diaries, court records, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe. He found hundreds of casual references to first sleep and second sleep, mentioned the way you might mention breakfast and lunch. Nobody explained the terms. Everybody just knew what they meant. What happened in between? Not panic, not insomnia. People prayed. They talked quietly with a spouse. They tended a low fire. Some simply lay in the dark, half awake, half dreaming, letting their minds wander somewhere between thought and dream. And this middle hour even had its own name in some communities. The watch. Why would the body do this on purpose? Ask yourself something first. What did the night actually feel like 15,000 years ago? No electric light, no locked doors, darkness that pressed in from every direction, full of sounds you couldn't always place. A snapped branch, a distant call, the wrong kind of silence. Sleeping 8 straight hours, fully unconscious, in that environment would have been a liability. A predator doesn't wait for daylight. Neither does a rival group, a flash flood, or a fire spreading from a neighboring camp. A brain that woke naturally in the middle of the night, alert but calm, gave you a chance to listen, to check the fire, to notice what had changed. The psychiatrist Thomas Wehr ran an experiment in the 1990s that seemed to confirm this old pattern was buried in modern biology. He took a group of volunteers and removed artificial light from their evenings entirely. Just natural darkness for 14 hours a night over several weeks. Within about a month, almost without exception, the same pattern appeared. The volunteers stopped sleeping in one block. They fell into two distinct sleep periods separated by 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness, almost exactly matching what Ekirch had found buried in centuries-old letters. Their bodies hadn't been taught this. They had simply stopped being told not to do it. So if this rhythm is built in, why does almost nobody live this way now? Artificial light is the obvious answer, but it's only half of it. The other half is the clock itself. Before industrial work schedules, time bent around the body. You slept when it got dark. You rose when something needed doing, and nobody was measuring your rest against a shift that started at 9. The candle, then the oil lamp, then the light bulb pushed bedtime later and later. The factory whistle then demanded a single, unbroken block of sleep so workers could be alert for a fixed start time. Segmented sleep didn't disappear because it was unhealthy. It disappeared because it stopped being practical. Which raises an uncomfortable question for anyone who has ever woken at 3 a.m. and assumed something was wrong with them. What if nothing is wrong with them at all? Modern sleep medicine quietly supports this. Russell Foster, a circadian neuroscientist at Oxford, has pointed out that a significant share of so-called middle-of-the-night insomnia isn't a disorder in the clinical sense. It's a body trying to return to an older pattern, one that the rest of its environment no longer makes room for. You wake at 3 a.m., your heart starts pounding about being awake, and the anxiety itself becomes the problem. The original waking was never the issue. There's a kind of irony in that. The thing keeping you up isn't insomnia. It's worrying that you have insomnia. Think about what that watch period might have felt like. Stripped of modern panic. Not a malfunction. A pause. A second smaller life lived quietly inside the night, separate from the busy hours of daylight and separate from the deep hours of full sleep. Some historians have wondered whether this was when certain kinds of thinking happened best. Loose, associative, half-dreaming thought, the kind that doesn't arrive when you're trying to force it during the day. There's a reason sleep on it became advice that actually works. None of this means you should abandon a normal night's rest and split your sleep on purpose. Modern life runs on continuous blocks for a reason, and most sleep researchers agree that consistent, sufficient sleep matters more than which pattern you follow. But there is something worth sitting with in all of this. The next time you wake at 3 a.m., heart slightly too fast, mind suddenly too clear, you are not broken. You are not failing at rest. You are, in a very literal sense, doing something your body has done for almost the entire span of human existence. Lying quietly in the dark, listening, half dreaming, waiting for the second sleep to come. Your ancestors called this the watch. They didn't fight it. Maybe the question was never why you can't sleep through the night. Maybe it's why you ever expected to.